Hello listeners, and welcome to this week's recording of Boomerang. Team 3 is here. My name is Jim, and your other readers are...
Farine,
Nan,
and Ray. Andrew is an engineer tonight and will be doing the recording, and Ray will be doing the copying and distribution. The news this week is taken with permission from the West Lothian Courier dated Thursday the 5th of December. And we are recording this on the 5th of December. Any anecdotes have been taken from the Reader's Digest, again with their permission. As this is our last recording for Team 3 for this year, we thought we would try to keep things festive. So we have a little bit of opening music, Joy to the World, sung by the Cockpen and Carrington Church Choir. Used with permission. As usual, the recording this week has been divided into 4 sections. And can I remind you right at the start that when you have listened to the whole recording, please post your wallet back to us from a post box and not the post office. We will start the first section with some general news.
Judge rules that Aimee's killer unfit to stand trial. Cocaine abuser stabbed young mum 45 times in horrific attack. A man killed a young woman after stabbing her at least 45 times in a vicious and frenzied attack in her own home, a judge has ruled. Cocaine abuser Michael Porchetta, 28, brutally knifed Aimee Cannon at the property in West Calder on May the 7th, 2022. Beautician Aimee had previously spurned his advances, insisting they were just pals. The 26-year-old's father, Vince, made the grim discovery of her body when he came to her house the next day. Porchetta had been accused of murder, but was deemed unfit to stand trial. An examination of facts hearing instead took place to look at the circumstances of the tragic incident and Porchetta's mental state at the time. Lord Mulholland concluded at the High Court in Glasgow last week that Porchetta, beyond reasonable doubt, carried out the attack. A large throng of Aimee's grieving family were at the hearing to listen to the judgment. Lord Mulholland stated, "This was a vicious, frenzied attack on a defenceless woman in her own home. It was carried out by someone regarded as a friend." The judge summarised some of the harrowing evidence he had heard, including Porchetta not getting help for stricken Aimee. He added it was an inescapable inference that Porchetta killed the mum. Porchetta is currently being detained at the State Hospital at Carstairs as part of an interim compulsion order. He will remain there as Lord Mulholland adjourned the case until the new year for further psychiatric reports to be completed. The earlier examination of facts in Edinburgh had heard agreed evidence read by Prosecutor John McElroy KC of Aimee's injuries. He said the post-mortem concluded that she died of multiple sharp force injuries. She had at least 45 stab wounds and multiple clean cut wounds on her scalp as well as both hands. Porchetta stayed with his uncle, Robert Nicholl, 59, and sister Gabriella after their parents had passed away. Mr. Nicholl told the court how his nephew returned home at 7 a.m. on May the 7th. He recalled, "I asked him how his night was, and he said, aye, it was all right, and he went upstairs. He changed his clothes and went out to work." Porchetta returned around 5 p.m. and had his dinner. A woman also arrived and they went to his room. It was the next afternoon an upset Porchetta went out to speak to his uncle while he was gardening. He said to me, "The lassie has been murdered up the street." My pals told me. Michael said he had been up at her house on Friday night. He always went there. He said he had been taking drugs. He then said his pals had called and told him Aimee had been stabbed. Porchetta's sister Gabriella also gave evidence, and she recalled how she smelled what she thought was blood on his jeans when she went to get them for the wash. The deputy charge nurse said, "I asked him where it had come from. He said he had cut his thumb after catching it on a barbed wire fence. He also said he had been to Aimee's on Friday night, but left around midnight. He denied doing anything to Aimee." Porchetta claimed he had left her safe and well, but his sister called police and told her brother that he had spoken to them. She also told how the family had been concerned about his cocaine abuse. Porchetta was said to have regularly asked his uncle for cash while taking cocaine. Witness spoke of Porchetta trying it on with Aimee, but she rebuffed him, insisting he was just my pal. One friend said Aimee had contacted him months before the killing to get Porchetta to leave her house. She was described as anxious, alarmed, and upset. Porchetta was also charged with stealing Aimee's phone, keys, and underwear, as well as disposing of the blade and washing her blood from his trainers. In his judgment, Lord Mulholland said Porchetta had tried to cover his tracks after killing, but that evidence, including DNA, had told its own story.
Bayleaf tastes success at top curry competition. One of West Lothian's best-loved Indian restaurant chains is celebrating after scooping 2 top awards. The Bayleaf, which has eateries in Bathgate and Livingston, won 2 awards at the Scottish Asian Food and Curry Awards 2024. The talented staff picked up Best Indian Restaurant Regional Winner and Voters' Choice Restaurant of the Year. They took to Facebook to say, "We are absolutely thrilled to have won 2 awards at the Scottish Asian Food and Curry Awards 2024. We thank you all who supported us to win this prestigious accolade. We couldn't do this without your love and support." The Bayleaf is no stranger to awards, including wins at the Scottish Curry Awards in 2022 for Best Manager, Dining Experience, and Curry Restaurant of the Year for the South East, the Best Dining Experience of the Year at the Scottish Curry Awards in 2021, and 5-star Indian Restaurant at the Scottish Asian Food Awards in 2018, to name just a few. The restaurants have also racked up hundreds of top reviews from customers. thanks to their amazing meals and outstanding customer service. And there's a photograph of the Bayleaf team with their award.
MP fears for safeguards in assisted dying bill. Bathgate and Linlithgow Labour MP Kirstine Sullivan has said she could not support the assisted dying bill passed at Westminster last week. The MP said she did not believe the private member's bill from fellow Labour MP Kim Ledbetter did enough to prevent coercion. Ms Sullivan said, "Mistakes in the context of assisted dying can't be undone. The person will be dead." In a statement, Ms Sullivan said, "I do not believe the bill contains sufficient safeguards to protect against coercion of individuals at the most vulnerable point in their lives. This is particularly important where the medical practitioner is unlikely to know the individual well enough to fully appreciate the personal context of the decision being made. Coercion can be incredibly difficult to detect, as we know from cases of domestic abuse." The MP also cited concerns about underinvestment in palliative care, the risk to doctors involved in such decisions, as well as the lack of certainty in timeframes. She added, "We all know of instances where people have been given limited timeframes only to outlive expectations, as well as cases where people have been given a longer time frame only to pass away at an earlier point." Miss Sullivan, who before her election was a councillor for the Whitburn and Blackburn ward on West Lothian Council, also said she believed there was too much variation in the way health services were delivered and the pressures faced in the different countries of the UK for the practical introduction of such legislation. The MP said, "Over the past few weeks, I've received hundreds of emails and letters from constituents regarding the terminally ill adults (end of life) bill. I have met with local groups from the constituency, as well as engaging with national organisations such as Marie Curie. I'm grateful to carers of West Lothian for facilitating a roundtable discussion for me with service users to share their thoughts and opinions based on their very personal experiences. The Terminally Ill Adults End of Life Bill in the House of Commons was a vote of conscience for individual MPs. It was a vote, Ms Sullivan said, that had weighed heavily upon her. She added, "I appreciate some people will take a different viewpoint based on their own research and individual beliefs. I respect their right to do so. Ultimately, this is a decision for each of us. I hope the respect and compassion that has been shown in debating such a sensitive issue will continue and underpin a full and frank discussion around the need for improved services and care for people to live."
Festival of Trees. The wonderful Festival of Trees takes place in St Michael's Parish Church this weekend from Friday to Sunday, December the 6th to the 8th. The event sees every corner of the church filled with festive Christmas trees, all decorated on the theme of Christmas movies by local community groups. Tickets are sold to raise money for local good causes. Among the groups taking part this year are Linlithgow Fair Trade Partnership, who have decorated a tree based on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The event in the church aims to remind people of the importance of treating fairly the small-scale farmers around the world.
Community group could face huge £90,000 a year bill to stay in centre. A community group have been told they will have to foot a bill of almost £90,000 a year to stay in the rooms they occupy following a shake-up to save West Lothian £1 million. Bathgate Community Centre Management Committee has rejected proposals to lease space in the town's partnership because its income is only £15,000 per year. The committee has to submit proposals for January, but there is no certainty what will happen if agreement cannot be reached by April 2026, the deadline for the council to reach its budget savings by cutting community centre spending. Across the county, volunteer management committees are facing a choice of buying buildings outright or entering new lease agreements with the council. Around 30 townspeople attended an online meeting on Monday night to hear that the annual bill to cover building and running costs for the 23% of the Bathgate Partnership building the council says the community centre occupies could be as much as £86,853. This includes a 10% share of staffing costs, equal to around £40,000 per year for 2 members of staff. The committee is the latest in West Lothian to flatly reject the council's take-it-or-leave-it approach to the future of community centres and village halls, where volunteer management committees are either being asked to take out a lease on the buildings they occupy or buy them outright through community asset transfer. The management team said, "We would be open to making an annual financial contribution to the council. The amount would depend on our yearly income and our commitment to providing affordable space for volunteer groups, charities and residents." Community Council Treasurer Donald Stavert, chairing the meeting, said that council finance officers saw community centres as low-hanging fruit. He added, "This is a service which is non-statutory. The council does not legally have to provide it, which is astonishing. Centres have been here for decades. I think they saw this as an easy cut, but the reality is when they come and talk to the community, it is a completely different matter. We're looking for a major rethink here." The committee has suggested that some form of community interest company or charitable trust take on the management of community centres. At the very least, the committee has called on the council to drop the idea of cutting funding by 100% in one go, suggesting gradually cutting back funding to help a community-based operator gradually take control. The management committee said a social enterprise cooperative or charity taking ownership could work with the council, adding, "This collaborative approach could lead to more effective management of these vital community assets, while relieving the individual management committees of unsuitable financial burdens." The council could then gradually reduce its budget contribution to the new organisation over a number of years. Bathgate's community centre occupies rooms in the Jim Walker Partnership, the council partnership building in South Bridge Street. The council proposes the centre pays a lease share towards the running costs and staff of the building. These, at the meeting, overwhelmingly backed the management committee proposals.
A rise in complaints over grass cutting. A rise in complaints about grass dragged onto footpaths is as regular as the change of the clocks for West Lothian Council. With acres of open space to cut using mowing machines, it's hard to avoid, but climate change may be adding to the problem. This year it seems to have been much worse than last year, much like the summer itself. Council grounds teams have struggled to keep soaking wet grass in top condition and found the soggy summer has caused a spurt in growth with no mid-season respite of a hot, dry few weeks that Scotland used to see in late July and early August. It's been quite a soggy summer, councillors heard this week. Andy Johnston, a countryside manager with the Neighbourhood Environment Teams, NET, told councillors in the Lithgow,
It was probably the most challenging summer I've experienced in my 39 years with the council in terms of ground maintenance. We do have a wet climate, but generally we have spells of hot weather in between. This year it's been predominantly wet right the way through. The rise in complaints has either been due to damage to the grass areas or because grass has been dragged by the machines onto the footpaths and hard surfaces. If you take your own experience from your own garden, you will have cut grass a lot less because of the wet conditions. Mr. Johnson said, "We had to cut the grass cutting programme short because the water table was high. It was doing more harm than good, turning grassed areas into mud." Councillors in Bathgate and Linlithgow told Net officers about complaints of shrubbery overhanging footpaths and obscuring road signs.
And that takes us to the end of part 1. We'll be back with part 2 very, very shortly. Welcome back, folks, to part 2. There are a couple of festive seasons notifications from the West Lothian Bulletin. The first one is Beecraig's Country Park. This December, the spectacular Starry Nights experience will transform Beecraig's Country Park into a glittering Christmas wonderland. The magical illumination event, running from December the 6th to the 23rd, is an unforgettable evening of festive entertainment and Christmas-themed joy for all the family. There's so much to do, with singing trees, a fairy den, candy cane lane, Christmas campfire in the forest with marshmallows, the snowball blizzard and the mischievous Grinch. And the other one is Linlithgow Museum. Linlithgow Museum brings to life the rich history of the ancient and royal borough of Linlithgow for locals and visitors alike. Upcoming events and exhibitions include a Christmas bauble workshop, festive Fright Night, and the Presents from the Past exhibition. There's a lot to see and do. Follow their Facebook page or visit their website to keep up to date with news and events. Opening times: Friday and Saturday 10 a.m. to 4 p.m, Sunday 1 p.m. to 4 p.m, which is in Linlithgow Partnership Centre, 93 High Street, Linlithgow. We'll now carry on with some more news.
A new campaign is launched for the Christmas season. Cops on the road to hunt down drink drivers. A hard-hitting campaign aimed at tackling drink and drug driving was launched in West Lothian this week after a record number of drivers were caught drunk or drug driving. The Scottish Government and Police Scotland initiative was launched in Livingston on Tuesday. Last year's efforts resulted in more drink and drug drivers being caught over the festive period than ever, with 61 offences recorded in Lothian and Borders between the 1st of December and the 2nd of January 2024. Police Scotland is now warning offenders that anyone who drives with alcohol or drugs in their system, endangering themselves and others, risks being caught. With police officers able to carry out immediate roadside drug testing using a simple swab, it's easier than ever for officers to catch drug drivers, with almost 50% of tests showing up positive. The most recent figures available from 2022 show that drink driving is estimated to have resulted in 30 deaths and a further 280 injuries. Cabinet Secretary for Justice and Home Affairs Angela Constance, who is also MSP for Amman Valley, was joined by Chief Superintendent Hilary Sloan, Police Scotland's head of road policing at the Livingston Inn, to emphasise the potentially devastating consequences of drink and drug driving, not just for other road users, but for those behind the wheel. Ms Constance said, Driving with drink or drugs in your system destroys lives, as well as those whose loved ones are killed or seriously injured as a result of a driver under the influence. Drivers themselves face losing their licence and their job and could be faced with hefty fines. The impact on their own families can be huge. It's simply not worth the risk. Leave the car at home if you're planning a night out. Police Scotland is urging people to make transport plans before heading out to festivities. Chief Superintendent Hilary Sloan, head of the road policing, said, "Our officers will be working hard to relentlessly target drivers who choose to drink alcohol or take drugs. It doesn't matter how good a driver you think you are, alcohol or drugs will affect your reactions and your judgment." The campaign aims to emphasise the long-lasting effects of drugs and alcohol and remind people that even one drink can take them over the alcohol limit. You can still be unfit to drive the morning after drinking or taking drugs, and some drugs can remain in your system for days. Those caught driving with drugs or alcohol in their system may face a range of penalties, including a 12-month driving ban, a fine up to £5,000, penalty points on their licence, and up to 6 months in prison. Chief Superintendent Sloan continued, "We will be doing everything we can to protect the public and support crucial road safety partnership to encourage behaviour change, but we also need your help. The influence people can have on their family and friends can be life-saving. If you know someone is going to drive after drinking alcohol or taking drugs, please speak to them. We all have a responsibility to improve road safety." The new drink and drug driving advertising campaign highlights how easy it is to catch drivers under the influence, that even one drink can put you over the limit, and that you can still be over the limit the morning after. It will run during the festive period on radio, digital and outdoor channels, supported by a PR and social media campaign. For more information, go to Road Safety Scot or the Road Safety Scotland Facebook.
Pedal Power races ahead to win top award. A West Lothian bike shop is racing ahead of the competition after winning a prestigious national award. Pedal Power in West Calder was named Independent Bike Dealer of the Year for the whole of Britain in the Bike Biz Awards 2024. For over 15 years, the Bike Biz Awards has served as a key event for the recognition of the very best talent from across the UK cycling scene. The scheme offers an array of expertly curated categories designed to reflect the vibrant nature of the sector, from prizes that honour local independents and distribution giants through to accolades for innovative brands and those providing essential services to the industry. Pedal Power owner Jonathan McBain said he was delighted with the win. He said, "We are very proud and grateful to our customers, without whom we simply wouldn't be here. Thank you for supporting us, for having trust in our knowledge and expertise." A Bike Biz spokesperson said, "The majority of winners were chosen by our expert judging panel, who offer years of combined experience in the cycling and micromobility industries."
Bright Sparks devise power check device. College duo invent teaching aid to help apprentices. 2 lecturers from West Lothian College have invented a practical teaching aid to help electrical apprentices get hands-on with a potentially dangerous issue, and now want to share it with the rest of Scotland. Thomas Barlow and Scott Kavanagh of West Lothian College devised and built an interactive fault board that gives young learners the chance to learn how to test for neutral current diversion, NCD. The duo were inspired to create the innovative resource by the country's largest construction trade body, Select, which is currently leading the way with a range of resources and information about the issue. Thomas said, "We got the idea when we received the Select posters giving guidance on NCD. We thought it was a good idea, but we didn't have anything to actually show the apprentices, so we wanted to create something they could physically interact with. It didn't take long to put together because we used materials that we'd inherited and had lying around. The board itself is a repurposed whiteboard. It's really part of our overall approach to training because we're upping our practical environments in the college as much as we can to ensure that, as well as theory, learners are getting the best physical experience they can when they're attending classes." The concept has already attracted interest from other colleges, with Select associate member company Scolmore also offering to help with production to roll out the units across Scotland. Scott said, "The board allows learners to test NCD in a simulated, controlled environment, which is invaluable for reinforcing theoretical concepts and giving learners practical insights into fault diagnosis and system behaviour under abnormal conditions most won't have encountered. It also possesses the potential for multi-trade training, in which gas engineers, plumbers and others could be trained to detect the kind of fault they could come into contact with in everyday scenarios." Thomas added, "So far, we're the only college in Scotland that's got this, but we'd really like to replicate it and give everyone the chance to use it. It's something that a lot of people seem to be reaching out for experience of and could even be used by employers for their own in-house electricians. NCD occurs when protective measures fail and current is diverted via exposed metal fixings, such as gas, water and oil pipes. Identified as a particular issue in multiple occupancy buildings, this can lead to a build-up of heat and could result in fire or explosion. Select has produced a suite of practical NCD resources for members, apprentices and trainees, including posters for workshops and training centres, a digital flowchart and a pocket-sized fold-out designed to be kept in toolboxes. Bob Kenny, Director of Technical Services at Select, who recently visited the college to inspect the NCD board, said, "This is the kind of out-of-the-box thinking which gives electrical apprentices in Scotland such excellent training, delivered under the supervision of lecturers who really care about their subject and their learners. Thomas and Scott are to be congratulated on their invention."
Residents move into new homes. Residents have begun to move into their new energy-efficient homes in Livingston, following the completion of a project to deliver 20 sustainable homes. The development, which was constructed by the JR Group on behalf of Arc Housing Association, includes 18 apartments with a mix of 1 and 2 bedrooms, plus 2 3-bedroom houses. 6 of the apartments are also fully wheelchair accessible. Built for the future, the homes at Crusader Rise in the Dedridge area include pioneering energy-efficient technology such as solar panels, air source heat pumps and electric car charging ports. While undertaking the project, the JR Group also supported local primary schools and nurseries in the area. Construction materials were donated to Little Flyers Nursery, and Easter eggs and Christmas selection boxes were gifted to several schools and nurseries throughout Dedridge. A financial donation was also made to Crusader Court Housing Care. Andrew Dallas, a projects director at the JR Group, told the Courier, "We have delivered 20 high-quality, sustainable homes in Livingston, which were made available for social rent. It is great to see residents begin to move into these homes, particularly at a time when new affordable homes are much needed right across the country. It is also becoming increasingly important that new homes are equipped for the future. These homes include a number of sustainable elements that will help to keep energy costs down and lower their carbon footprint. There are a number of schools and nurseries located close to Crusader Rise, which we supported with various donations while undertaking the project. It is a core part of the business to support the wider communities we are building in, where we can. The JR Group worked alongside construction and property consultants Summers Inman, QB Wood Architects and Fairhurst Engineers to deliver the project. The Crusader Rise project marked the first with Arc Housing Association. However, the construction business has a proven track record in Livingston, having previously completed a collection of socially rented properties on the former St Paul's Church in Ladywell.
Parents support school ban on mobile phones. A West Lothian high school, which banned the use of mobile phones in the classroom, has been given the support of parents and said it has made a huge difference. Linlithgow Academy has had mobile-free classrooms since the spring, and head teacher Grant Abbott recently told local councillors it's made a huge difference. The issue of mobile phones in school is one which education bosses are facing up and down the UK, with the issue set to hit TV screens next week, with the Channel 4 documentary Swiped, the school that banned smartphones. That features a school in Essex, which is banning mobile phones in the class, and in West Lothian, that has been shown to get great results. At a meeting of the Linlithgow Local Area Committee, he said, "We have been mobile-free in classrooms since May. After extensive surveys, we had 95% of families responding. The first time I have had that. I never get that level of response to surveys. I have staff telling me that change in classrooms is transformational. Students are back into lessons with no distractions. There's more dialogue and more discussion." Mr Abbott told the meeting that the school had opted for a very black and white approach. He said, "There's no phones in the classroom. It should be in a bag or the wall holder in the classroom. If a phone is seen in class, the teacher calls the office and another teacher comes to the classroom and asks the pupil to come to the office, where the pupil has to place the phone in a pouch. It can be retrieved at the end of the school day. The walk to the office also gives the chance for conversation with the pupil." Mr Abbott said it was a process which de-escalated the potential for disruption from the start. It's not a suit and tie demanding a phone from a pupil. It could be any teacher coming to class to escort the pupil to the office. It is the support of all teaching class in a school of 1,300 which has made the scheme work, said the head teacher. Pupils are allowed to use their phones at break times and lunch times. Chairing the meeting, Councillor Sally Pattle said, "That's fantastic. I've spoken to young people who have said, I can't focus in class because someone next to me is watching a film on their phone." A West Lothian Council spokesperson said, "Linlithgow Academy has adopted a new mobile phone policy with the aim for regulating mobile use to reduce distractions and improve learning. West Lothian secondary schools set their own mobile phone policy, with the majority asking pupils to ensure phones are in bags or pouches during class, unless the teacher indicates they are being used for the lesson or are required for medical reasons. In response to feedback from parents, teachers and students, Linlithgow Academy has implemented a new policy which formalises this approach and sets clear boundaries to help pupils stay engaged in lessons. Pupils are reminded of the policy at the start of each lesson. Communication is ongoing with parents, carers, to make sure they are on board with the approach, and respectful enforcement of the policy is carried out, all with the aim of creating an environment where students and teachers can engage without unnecessary interruptions.
Drivers snub parking rules at Town Cross. Drivers ignored double yellow lines in the heart of Linlithgow and even parked next to the historic cross in the heart of the town, police have been told. Officers attending the town's local area committee were given several photographs showing parked cars and taxis surrounding the borough halls, some even snubbing police no parking cones. It prompted a councillor to call for daily patrols and better education for Police Scotland's call centres. The latest problems came after police were called to speak to bus firms, who used the centre of town to park up and used the cross as a turning circle while visitors toured Linlithgow Palace. Councillor Tom Conn handed Sergeant Liam Arbuthnot and a colleague a series of photographs taken recently and described complaints he'd had from constituents living around the cross. Sergeant Arbuthnot had described an increased presence by local community officers and regular ticketing in the wake of complaints, and said officers were planning a high-profile patrol as part of a Christmas campaign. Councillor Pauline Orr told officers that the double yellow lines in front of the borough halls were used as a taxi rank and the cross is being used as a car park. Councillor Orr said that part of the problem was that staff in Police Scotland's control rooms took no notice of calls from Linlithgow, assuming that West Lothian, like some other areas, has decriminalised parking enforcement, DPE, which means the police don't deal with parking issues, council-hired wardens do. Councillor Conn said, issuing tickets doesn't seem to be deterring anybody. There also seems to be a situation that the Police Scotland call centre bounce it back and say it's West Lothian Council's responsibility. He added that the council was going through the process of setting up decriminalised parking enforcement, but suggested, let's scrap it and avoid any doubt that it is Police Scotland from here now in to do it, to enforce it. It looks like if we start to implement it, we're going to be seen as the bad guys, enforcing something that the police never did. Councillor Conn said that practical steps were being taken to stop parking at the monument, with benches from the front of the borough halls moved to surround the cross itself. The councillor added, I think we're just asking for a deterrent, for the police to be visible. I do accept that there's loads of other things happening in West Lothian, but this is something that just goes on and on like Groundhog Day. We need something done so the folk parking there realise that there's a very good chance that they're going to be caught and on a regular basis. The councillor said Police Scotland had caused problems for itself by scrapping traffic wardens, placing the responsibility onto officers when the force was unified. Until DPE is finalised, the council has no jurisdiction to control parking enforcement.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of part 2, and we'll be back with part 3 again very shortly. Welcome back to part 3, which of course will be our usual quiz the layout of which is now just 6 pub quiz questions. Remember to listen in to the start of part 4 for the answers to the quiz. Here we go. Which French film director was the son of a famous Impressionist painter? Jacques Tati, Jean Renoir, or Francois Truffaut? Number 2. Who was the Roman goddess of the hearth whose shrine was attended by 6 virgins? Was it Vesta, Juno, or Diana? Question number 3. Which Scottish port has a ferry service to Larne in Northern Ireland? Dundee, Inverness, or Cairnryan? Question 4. In which country did George Papadopoulos seize power in 1967? Was it Greece, Turkey, or Cyprus? Number 5. What is the name of the load line on a ship's hull introduced in 1876? The water line, the Plimsoll line, or the equator line? And the last question, which abbreviated inscription often appears in paintings of the crucifixion? Is it Alpha Omega, INRI, or IHS? And that's the 6 questions. Back with the answers shortly. Welcome back to part 4. And here are the answers to the quiz. Which French film director was the son of a famous Impressionist painter? Jacques Tati, Jean Renoir, or Francois Truffaut? And the answer is Jean Renoir. Question 2. Who was the Roman goddess of the hearth whose shrine was attended by 6 virgins? Vesta, Juno, or Diana? And the answer is Vesta. Question 3. Which Scottish port has a ferry service to Larne in Northern Ireland? Dundee, Inverness, or Cairnryan? And the answer is Cairnryan. Question 4. Country which George Papadopoulos seized power in 1967. Was it Greece, Turkey, or Cyprus? And the answer is Greece. What is the name of the load line on a ship's hull introduced in 1876? The water line, Plimsoll line, or the equator line? And the answer is it's the Plimsoll line. And question 6, the last question, which abbreviated inscription often appears in paintings of the crucifixion? Alpha Omega, INRI, or IHS? And the answer is INRI. And that, folks, is the answers to the quiz. I hope you got all the answers correct. And we'll carry on with some more general news.
Shoppers urged to stay local at Christmas. West Lothian residents are being encouraged to back their local businesses this festive period. The festive period is an important time to many small and independent retailers, some of whom rely on the additional business generated at this time of year to remain sustainable. The National Small Business Saturday event takes place on Saturday, December the 7th, with shoppers encouraged to support local business, such as those that can be found in West Lothian's traditional town centres of Armadale, Bathgate, Broxburn, Uphall, Linlithgow and Whitburn. The day itself takes place on the first Saturday in December each year, but the campaign aims to have a lasting impact on small businesses. Now in its 12th year in the UK, the campaign has grown significantly year on year, encouraging millions to shop small. Further campaign details and how you can participate can be found at www.gsbs.co.uk. smallbusinesssaturday.uk.com. Executive Councillor for Economy, Community Empowerment and Wealth Building, Susan Mannion, said, West Lothian is home to a number of truly unique and traditional towns and villages, many of which host a wide variety of small, high-quality, specialist retailers, business services and stores. Small Business Saturday is the perfect opportunity for local residents to show their support for their local town centres, with their business playing a pivotal role in their communities. I'm sure everybody wants to see our towns and villages centres remain vibrant and welcoming places to visit, shop, work, live and be entertained in, so it's vital we show them our support. A number of festive events are taking place around West Lothian over the next few years. For a list of all confirmed events, you can contact news.westlothian.gov.uk/festive 2024.
Quarter of workers do not feel safe. Nearly a quarter of West Lothian Council employees don't feel safe at their workplace, a report has revealed. Now, an action plan is underway to reduce employee exposure to violence and aggression in the workplace. Data shows that only 77% of council employees feel safe at work, compared to the target of 95%. A report to next week's meeting of the Council's Corporate Policy and Resources Policy Development and Scrutiny Panel will advise that a suite of procedures are in place which provide a framework for services in ensuring a safe place of work and the personal safety of employees at work. The report adds, an online health and safety management system allows services to actively manage safety in the workplace, including assessment and control of risks and the reporting and investigation of incidents.
Call for unpaid carers to get winter COVID jabs. West Lothian Council has backed a plea for unpaid carers to qualify for COVID-19 booster jabs this winter. Those under 65 were excluded from the latest booster programme. UK-wide advice from clinicians believed that the risk of illness had now fallen significantly. Deputy Provost Peter Heggie tabled a motion to write to the Scottish Health Minister Neil Gray asking him to reinstate booster jabs for unpaid carers. Councillor Heggie spoke of widespread fears among carers of falling ill and being unable to care for loved ones. Councillor Heggie said some of the testimony he had heard speaking to constituents was upsetting. He said, "They asked me, what if I take ill? Who's going to care for my partner? Who's going to care for my son?" He added, "People started to contact me when this decision was made. I've spoken to individuals who will not be offered the COVID-19 booster this winter, and their only option is to pay for it. For many in these times, that is not something they can do." A recent report in West Lothian showed that 26% of carers really struggle with their own health and well-being in their role. And who would step up? Raising an amendment against the Conservative motion, the SNP group leader, Councillor Janet Campbell, said, "The Scottish Government has consistently followed the best and most up-to-date advice regarding all vaccination programmes, including booster programmes for COVID. That's why both NHS Scotland and NHS England are following this advice as set out by the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation, the JCVI." The amendment added, "As currently available COVID-19 vaccines provide limited protection against mild and asymptomatic disease, the focus of the programme is on offering vaccination to those most likely to directly benefit from vaccination, particularly those with underlying health conditions that increase their risk of hospitalisation following infection. For autumn 2024, JCVI advises that a COVID-19 vaccine should be offered to adults aged 65 years and over, residents in a care home for older adults, and for those aged 6 months to 64 years in a clinical risk from COVID group. This information renders this motion baseless.
Water Quality Survey. A survey of water quality at a popular West Lothian beauty spot could provide answers on how to deal with polluting weeds. Scientists working on water quality in the River Aimee are also studying the growth of algae bloom in B. Craig's Loch at the country park. Countryside manager Andy Johnson said a study could direct future management of the loch. Local councillor Sally Pattle, chairing the meeting, said, "I note that your surveys of the loch have finished. Is this being done with the work that University of Stirling has been doing in Linlithgow Loch?" Linlithgow Loch is owned by Historic Environment Scotland, and it is carrying out studies of algae and other pollutants along with SEPA. Hundreds of fish were killed in the loch recently, and it suffers from a pollutant runoff from the nearby M9 as well as algae bloom. Mr Johnson told councillors, "It's a separate independent survey. We are due to get a report back from Stirling University on the work they're doing on the River Aimee. We will get a report back towards the tail end of the year on the work happenings at B. Craig's. We have work on the reservoir dam itself by our flood risk colleagues. They inspect that routinely and do work on the dam. We're also looking at the water quality in the loch itself, the blue-green algae side of things, through the Nature Restoration Fund. We have a consultant compiling a report for the biodiversity team."
Musical Youth. School wins Gold Music Award. Williamson Primary School is celebrating after being awarded We Make Music Gold Award. It becomes the first school in West Lothian and only the second school in Scotland to achieve this level of award. The We Make Music School Award scheme recognises and celebrates the rich variety of music-making activity taking place in primary and ASN schools in Scotland. A spokesperson for the school said, "We held a celebration event with musical performances from our brass and woodwind bands, our choir and our whole school singing You Are a Star." Guests in attendance were May Murray from MEPG, Music Education Partnership Group, Ian Mills, the chair of MEPG Board, and Neil Miller, Senior Education Manager of Education Scotland. Also there were Head Teacher Jane Livingston, Acting Deputy Head Teacher Roisin Thompson, and Instrumental Music Service Teachers Andrew Shaw and Jennifer Kelly. This was an exciting culmination of all the work our school and nursery have been doing across expressive arts, but especially music.
Gymnasts reach for the sky at top competition. Astro Gymnastics in Livingston hosted almost 300 gymnasts and over 500 spectators for the annual East of Scotland Acrobatic Gymnastics competition recently. It brought together competitors from Acro Bay Gymnastics Trust in Dalgety Bay, Linlithgow School of Gymnasts and Astro Gymnastics. The packed day saw gymnasts of all ages and abilities, including some who have represented Great Britain in international competitions, take to the floor to showcase their skills in front of a panel of judges. Some were competing against other clubs for the very first time. Sarah Nimmo, performance coordinator at Astro Gymnastics, said, "It's fabulous to see so many talented young gymnasts come together at an event here at our facility. Competitions like this provide vital opportunities for personal growth and development, both individually and as a team. Our amazing team of staff and volunteers delivered a really successful event." Astro Gymnastics welcomes people of all ages and abilities, adults included, and is currently running a free trial offer until the end of December. And you can use the code HOI360 to book a free trial class before December the 31st. And you can go to their website, which is astrogymnastics.co.uk.
Whitburn kids are tech savvy. At Whitburn Academy, the future of tech-savvy students is looking bright. The school's digital team, led by Lynn Pride, has kicked off a brand new initiative bringing hands-on digital lessons to local primary schools. But it's just not about mastering the basics of technology. Students are levelling up in true ninja style. As they sharpen their digital skills, they're also climbing the karate belt ranks, with the ultimate goal of becoming a digital ninja before even stepping foot in high school. The buzz is already building, with students showing off their newly earned digital expertise and impressive belt colours. Lynn said the school was very proud of the pupils, adding, "We can't wait to return for the next round of lessons, and if the glowing feedback from pupils is anything to go by, it looks like the future is in very capable and tech-savvy hands."
OAP in standoff with thief. Detectives are appealing for information following an attempted robbery on a pensioner in Uphall Station. The incident happened around 11:30 p.m. on Tuesday, November 26th, when a 72-year-old man was walking on Pumferston Road. He was approached by a man who threatened him and demanded money. The victim refused and the man made off from the scene. The suspect is described as white, approximately 5'9", and in his 20s. He was wearing black tracksuit bottoms, white Nike trainers with a black tick, a black Under Armour baseball cap, and a grey tracksuit top with a black hooded jacket underneath. Following inquiries, it has been established that the same suspect attempted to gain access to a nearby property and vehicle on Somerville Court shortly before the attempted robbery. Call police on 101, quoting incident number 3830 of November 26th, or Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111.
The Sparks Christmas Fun Day. Sparks fly at Festive Fun Day. It was a fun-packed festive day for all the family in Craigs Hill. Sparks Christmas Fun Day was packed with festive cheer, laughter and so much fun. From the magical Christmas light switch on to Santa's Jolly Grotto, the excitement was non-stop. The kids, and let's be honest, the adults too, had a blast with Elfie on the sleigh, sparkly glitter tattoos and creative face painting. A spokesperson said, "Everywhere you looked there were smiles and festive vibes and even a visit from Santa." A huge thank you to everyone who joined in the festivities and to the volunteers who made today possible. Also, a massive thank you to our community who turned out in their droves. And this article is surrounded by a number of pictures of elves, elves with Santa, and jolly parts of the community, and some with particularly good face painting.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of part 4. And although that brings us to the end of the news from the Courier, please stay tuned and I'll let you know when we have finally finished the recording. Ray, one of our team, has been out and about and has recorded an interview with Nahid Hanif of the Advice Shop, and we are going to insert the recording here.
Hello listeners, and welcome to the latest edition of our series of interviews. This time we're speaking to Nahid Hanif, who is an anti-poverty manager with West Lothian Council. Nahid has agreed to take some time out of her day to sit in the hot seat. So without further ado, we'll begin. Hello Nahid, thank you very much for making the time available to speak to us. It's a pleasure to do this interview.
Thank you so much, Ray, for inviting me along. I really do appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit of information about the Advice Shop and the Anti-Poverty Service from West Lothian Council.
Can you give our listeners an introduction to your role in the council and the services you provide? Is it the Advice Shop you work in? Are you based in Bathgate? How long have you been working with them? And are there any other interesting snippets that our listeners could know?
As Ray has said, my name is Nahid Hanif and I am the Council's Anti-Poverty Manager, the Anti-Poverty Service Manager. And the Anti-Poverty Service is made up of two parts, if you like. So we have the Advice Shop, and the Advice Shop provide advice and support and advocacy the areas of welfare benefit, energy advice, debt advice and housing advice. Another part of the service is also the benefits and financial support service, and within that area we process and pay housing benefit, council tax reduction, that includes discretionary housing payment. We also process education benefits such as free school meals, clothing grant, education maintenance allowance, and within our section we also deliver the Scottish Welfare Fund, which is helping vulnerable people on low incomes with crisis grant and community care grants. We also have our Blue Badge is part of the service as well. So we process Blue Badge forms, Blue Badge applications. We also look after the National Entitlement Cards and Under 22 Travel scheme for the Scottish Government Transport Scotland. So it's quite, as you can see, there's a lot of work streams. It's quite a large service, but having both of those services together allows us to reach vulnerable people, do targeted interventions to make sure people are claiming their entitlements and are getting their benefits paid in a timely manner as well. So bringing both of those services together has really helped communities. I think one of your questions was, is it the Advice Shop that I work in? I suppose I have overall responsibility for that full service, including the financial support, benefits and Advice Shop. Our hub is Bathgate. We are based in Bathgate. However, we have a lot of, and this is Advice Shop now, have a lot of what we call outreach sessions and clinics where we deliver advice in community settings. We're in Broxburn, Armadale, Livingston, so we're right across the county. If you go on to our website, it can give you a list of everywhere, where we are, if people would be interested in that. And I can share that information with you, Ray, if you like. But we are out in communities. It's not that we're solely based in Bathgate. I've been working with the Advice Shop now for 22 years. The last 2 years it's been the Anti-Poverty Service, but before that I started in frontline and I delivered advice and I kind of moved up the ranks, if you like. So I've been with them a long time, so I'm very passionate and about the service. It's very unique. There's nothing like the Advice Shop, I would say, right across Scotland, because we have drop-in facilities. You can drop in and see someone face to face. We have outreach. You can get advice on the telephone. You can get advice on a video conferencing platform. You can get advice by looking online. We keep our website up to date as well. So we like to think that we are really accessible so that people can get advice at a time and in a way that suits them.
That's wonderful. That is a really broad brush you use then. That's a lot of different services. However, do you have staff that can deal specifically with inquiries from a visually impaired person?
all our staff undertake equalities training. We have a really good working relationship with the Royal National Institute for the Blind. So, they will provide some training for us. We can access their tools, anything that they've got. The way we operate our services is we want to empower people to be able to do things themselves. However, we absolutely recognise that that's not possible for everyone. And if we're thinking about disability forums, you've got an 80-page forum there. We will absolutely help you with that. We will fill it out for you. We will ask you the questions and we will write that forum or type it up. So we will do absolutely everything that we can to help and support anyone that with any impairment that comes into our service to make sure that they get all that help and support. And if that means having to refer people on, we can do that. But generally, we are able to help most people that access our service.
Okay, thank you. Now, in light of the budget, which was aimed at working people, and the fact that many of our listeners will be in receipt of one form of benefit or another, can you carry out a benefits check for our listeners if they haven't had one recently so that they can be sure they're receiving all the money that they're entitled to?
Yeah, absolutely. That's our bread and butter, if you like. Anybody that comes in to see the advice shop, we will carry out a benefit check for them. That's our standard practice to make sure that everybody's claiming their full benefit entitlement. So you may come in, I'd like help with a blue badge application. We will offer you a full benefit check to make sure, because often there can be a change in your circumstances and you should be getting a different level of a disability benefit. So we would talk you through all of that. And we also help you make that claim. We will help you all the way along that claim as well. So, for example, if we fill out the form, we will keep in touch with you until you've had an outcome. And if you get a successful outcome, we will undertake another benefit check to see if you're entitled to anything else, because often claim for one benefit can lead on to other benefits. So we will then do a follow-up benefit check to see if this now entitles you to other benefits. And if you are unsuccessful, we will then help you with mandatory reconsiderations, reviews and appeals. So we follow the journey from the start right until you've had an outcome and you're happy with the outcome. Yeah, so absolutely. So when you touch our service, we will keep in touch with you as much or as little as you need us to. And we will work with you to do that.
That's wonderful, because it actually covers my next two questions almost instantly. I was going to ask, does the advice shop deal with the inquiry, or do you just act as a filter and pass the query on? And do you follow up on the inquiries to make sure they're resolved? But you've just stated quite clearly that you take it, you work through this, and you hang on to it until it's finished one way or the other.
And I suppose I would just like to kind of add, Ray, that we can signpost onto it, because in West Lothian, we're very fortunate of all the different partners that work within West Lothian in the third sector, in our community planning partnership, the police, the NHS and the fire. And if there's anything that we feel that the person that we're dealing with could benefit from our partners, we would make a referral with consent to our partners to make sure that the person is receiving all the support that's available locally. For example, Carers of West Lothian, you could refer on to them for additional support. So yeah, we can do forwarding referrals for additional support if the person that we're dealing with requires to as well.
Thank you. Which brings us to, really, if any of our listeners would like to contact you or your organisation, how do they do it, please?
So there's lots of ways to refer to our organisation. You can phone us, or if you are able to go online, you can complete an inquiry form and that would be emailed into us. You can email us directly if that's the method that you prefer, or you can drop in and see us at Bathgate or our outreach sessions as well. And that's all information that I can provide you, Ray, and you could share that with your listeners.
And I'll certainly do that. And all I can say is that's been really useful. You've been very detailed in what you do and how you do it. And I just wish to thank you once again for making the time to speak to us.
Is it just kind of finally, We also have a lived experience panel. We call them our experts by experience, and they help us shape our service and our processes going forward. And we consult with them on a regular basis. And I suppose they ask us if there's any of your listeners that would like to be part of our lived experience panel. Then if they get in touch, we can give them some more information about that. It's a voluntary role, but we do have 25 people in it, but we're keen to make it a cross-representative panel, and we would be keen and really welcome somebody from one of your listeners to be involved.
Okay, so basically a service user panel to give you feedback on the benefits of the service, or
absolutely,
and how they think the service has worked.
Yeah. Or, gaps, if there's any gaps, or how we can further help and support people that have got visual impairment.
That's great. Thank you. Well, listeners, that brings us to the end of this interview. We hope you've enjoyed it and have found the information useful. We hope to bring you another one soon.
Also, in our recording sessions, as you well know, because we're Team 3, we have started to include, where possible, a poem or composition written and read by one of our team, Ray. So, before we wind up our session, perhaps Ray would again read out his compositions. Over to you, Ray.
As this is our team's last recording before Christmas, I've decided that tonight I will read out A Visit from St. Nicholas by Clement C. Moore. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new-fallen snow gave the lustre of midday to objects below, when, what to my wondering eyes should appear, but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donder and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he'd flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke had encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowlful of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, and turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. but I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." And now I'd like to read you something that I've written specially for us. And now we've reached that time of year that's full right up with festive cheer. At Boomerang we've done our best, but now it's time to take a rest. To all our listeners, old and new, we send our Christmas wishes too. Good health to all. We hope you will stay happy, safe, and this until we come back on in 25, assuming that we can survive the turkey, sprouts and Christmas pud. We'll eat too much, but it is good. So wishes from all of Team 3, and specially a wish from me.
Thank you very much, Ray. We have now actually come to the end of this week's recording. We hope you have enjoyed it. Can I remind you again, when you finish listening to the recording, can you put the USB stick in the wallet, reverse the label so that the cutout corner is at the top right-hand side, and post it back to us as soon as possible. Remember, wallets should only be posted in a post box. Do not post them in a post office. Again, this is the Christmas season, and we will finish our recording with the Hallelujah Chorus sung by the Cockpen and Carrington Church Choir, organist and choir master Graham Burnside, again with permission. So, it's goodbye from the members of our team, from
Therine,
Nan,
Ray,
and from Jim. Bye.
bye. Happy Christmas.
Shall wait forever.